Hi, I'm Veda. It's very nice to meet you. Go ahead and take a seat wherever you're comfortable, okay? Alright. So, where this is your very first session, I will explain a little bit about what I do as a life coach. Very different from a therapist or a psychiatrist, although both help you, listen to you, work on goals and things to make your life better. A life coach is going to focus more on your potential career, your interpersonal relationships, not so much things related to mental health issues, although we can talk a bit about some of that as well if it feels like it's impacting our work, okay? All right. Now, I know that you came in today with the idea of maybe working on some New Year's resolutions. Okay, that's so fun. Okay. So, New Year's resolutions. And I am just going to be taking some notes about our session. I will be sending these to you as well at the end of every session so that you can remember what we've talked about. I'll also be sending you some sheets to help keep up with your resolution and any goals that we set, okay? Alright, so we're thinking New Year's resolution setting. So, is there a reason why you want to start this as a New Year's resolution? Okay. Yeah, no, I have no problem with New Year's resolutions as a concept, especially where you're thinking of things that are going to improve your quality of life, help you better yourself. I think it can just be a bit of a pitfall with New Year's resolutions because some people feel like if they slip up, maybe miss a couple days or something, that's it. You've messed up the whole year, when that is not at all the case. So we are really going to be looking for incremental changes, and we'll go maybe a little slower than you have in the past when you've tried New Year's resolutions and maybe failed, okay? Yeah. So we're going to treat this a bit more like a goal-setting session where we talk about what you really want to achieve with this resolution and the steps to getting there, also some barriers that you might face and how to overcome those, okay? All right. Now, do you have ideas for exactly what you want to do for your resolution? Okay. Well, no, I'm totally fine with you doing more than one. Traditionally, with New Year's resolutions, experts advise to really stick to one, but because of the way that we're treating this as an ongoing process and we're working on it together, I would be comfortable with two, as long as they're maybe two different aspects of your life. Okay, so we want to work on something intellectual, and something physical, okay? Now, in terms of intellectual, some common resolutions that I see people come up with are learning a new language, reading more, studying something new, maybe taking a class. I've had people take cooking classes to learn how to cook for their family, something like that. Okay. No, I love that. So you were thinking about maybe reading more anyway. All right. Well, that's a really good one because certainly a lot of choices, and we can really customize it to fit the time that you're able to devote to it and all that. So you'd like to read more in the new year, okay? Read more. How much do you read right now? Okay. Oh, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay. Some of these things we can approach like your sort of a beginner to a hobby, okay? So you used to be a bit of a reader, but haven't read so much recently. Is there a reason why? Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. So what I'm hearing is you had to read a lot for school, so you kind of fell out of the habit of reading for enjoyment, and now you're trying to find that again? Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I think we can definitely do that, especially by exploring what books you truly enjoy, things that would enrich your life in some way. It does not have to be educational, though if that's what you enjoy, it's fine. Okay. And then for physical, okay. And that's totally fine. So if your goal is to maybe lose a little bit of weight, I think that we can phrase that maybe in a more positive light. Other things that exercise might do other than just help you lose weight would be improve your health, create and release endorphins, boost energy and mood. So we can look at all of those things, but really, I think you're looking to maybe get some exercise in, exercise a bit more. Okay. All right. So now that we've come up with these sort of two main overarching resolutions to read more in the new year and to exercise more, let's talk a little bit more about specifics and how we can make this happen, okay? All right. Which one do you want to start with, the reading or the exercising? Okay, reading. So basically you say we want to read more in the new year. So the first step would be to create a tangible goal for this. So this is a specific and concise goal. And I think we can think of this in two ways. We can do the goal for the year overall, so what you want to accomplish. And maybe we can start by setting a short-term goal to get you there. Okay. So I think one of the best ways to do this is to actually set a number goal for how many books you want to read in a year. Does that sound okay? Yeah. So right now, if you would have to take a guess, how many books have you been reading in a year? Yeah, so like 4. And what do you think would be a doable number for you? Okay. Yeah, so that would put you at 2 books a month. Do you think that with your current schedule that is realistic? So you'd basically be reading a fresh book every 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, I totally understand. Let us start with something more attainable, and if you hit it early, we can set a stretch goal. So how about we say 12 books this year? So that's quite an increase from what you're currently reading. Reduces the pressure a little bit, makes it slightly more manageable, and that also has a good number because it means 1 book a month, which I think is an easier way of thinking about it in your head, breaking it up into small digestible bits. Does that sound about right for you? Okay, and as I said, if you end up falling in love with this, you start reading a lot more, then we can maybe stretch the goal for you. So 12 books this year. So your small goal, short-term goal, will be to read 1 book for January, okay? So read 1 book for January. And I'll show you what I'm using right now. This is a SMART Goals worksheet. So I'm going to message this to you, email this to you, so that you can see exactly what I've written and also use this as a way of tracking your progress, because we have a log down at the bottom that you can use. Okay. So read 1 book for January. And one important thing to think about and to remind yourself of frequently when we're doing goal setting is the purpose. So why are you even doing this? Why is this relevant? Why is this important to you? Okay, yeah. So really just trying to rediscover that enjoyment that you used to have for reading. Did you read a lot as a kid? Yeah. What were some of your favorite childhood books? Oh, yeah, that's a wonderful series. So I'm taking a couple notes just on what your taste might be so that I can help you if you struggle with picking any books, okay? How about recently? Any books as an adult that you've read and really enjoyed? I actually like that one too. So you're a fan of series. Yeah, when you can find the time. It's been a while. Gotcha. Okay. So, speaking of finding the time, the next thing I want you to think about is what kind of challenges you might face in trying to achieve this goal or sort of work toward this resolution. What are some challenges? Yeah, the time thing. So, making time. Are you a pretty busy person? Yeah, a lot of things competing for your time. I got that. Okay, so making time. Anything else you can think of? Okay, yeah, just finding books that hold your attention. And especially at first, I think it's important to at least start you off with some books that are really going to grab your attention, things that you're going to be really interested in and enjoy. That way it's not a struggle at the beginning, okay? All right. How about any other challenges? Okay. Yeah. So your house can be a little noisy at times, hard to get some peace and quiet, space for yourself. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some potential solution to those challenges, okay? So you have making time for it. So there's a couple ways we can do this, or rather infinite ways, but a couple ways I suggest. You can set aside a certain time each day to dedicate to reading, maybe 30 minutes to an hour before bed. You can even work your way up from 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that would probably work for you. All right. Another option, if that ends up becoming a challenge, instead of doing a certain time each day, you can commit to a certain amount of time each day. So, say you can't do every night right before bed at 11 p.m., but you know, okay, tonight's going to be difficult, but I have to fit in my 30 minutes. Maybe I'll do that on my lunch break instead of something else. So that makes it a bit more flexible, but it does also kind of give you the chance to say you're supposed to do it at lunch, then you skip it and you know you're not going to do it later either, if that makes sense. Okay. So you think maybe the end of the day for maybe half an hour to start? Half an hour? Yeah, let's start you on 30 minutes before bed. Okay. Finding a book that holds your interest. So I think maybe I can help you with that in terms of talking about genres you might like, looking online, and at least we can pick your first book together today and get you started, okay? And then the noise level in your house. Do you happen to have headphones or earplugs? Okay, so kind of at night when you're going to bed, it's quiet by then. So that kind of eliminates that one too. That works. Okay. So, let us see about a book for you. All right. Okay, so I have a quiz in front of me. It's going to ask you some questions and narrow down options for a book. It'll give me a suggestion, and then we can see at least if we're on the right track, okay? So, first question. What sounds good to you? Something fun, something adventurous, something thought-provoking, or something gentle? Okay. Where do you want to go? A Midwestern university, 1300s China, New York City, other planets, a pie shop, the beach, a Filipino-American restaurant, a Santa Barbara mansion, or Norway in 1904? Okay. How long do you prefer your book to be? Long, medium, or short? Okay. Which do you prefer, series or standalones? Yeah, thought so based on your reading history. Do you prefer realism or sci-fi and fantasy? Which genre do you want to read? Literary fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, mystery, romance, historical fiction, memoir, or essays? Okay. So it seems like you're more of a fiction person versus nonfiction. Okay. What sounds good? Revenge against misogynists using pie, exploration of racism and homophobia in academia, defying fate, Beauty and the Beast romance retelling, a living city, or a space opera? Okay. What sounds good? Tea dragons, life-affirming essays, estranged friends to lovers romance, genre-defying memoir about abuse, queer and disabled found family, or a culinary cozy mystery? Okay. And which age category would you prefer? Adult, children's, young adult, or it doesn't matter? Okay. Would you prefer to read something well-known or something obscure? Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that's interesting. Okay. So the book it recommended for you is A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I say that's interesting because I actually have it behind me. Let me go ahead and grab it and I can show it to you. Just get back in here. So, this is A Court of Thorns and Roses. It is part of a book series, the first book in the series. The author, Sarah J. Maas, has written several other series. Very, very popular. Have you ever read anything by her? No? Okay. Well, if you end up liking her, you're going to have a lot of material to choose from. So, this book is fantasy. It's like a fantasy romance. Does that sound up your alley at all? Okay, all right. Yeah, I like the look on your face. So, the blurb: she stole a life. Now she must pay with her heart. When 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy Tamlin transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful and dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient wicked shadow is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it, or doomed Hamlin and his world forever? Oh, yes. That caught your attention a lot. That sounds interesting. Well, it is. It's 419 pages. So, not the longest book, not the shortest book either. I would call it like medium to long. Does this seem manageable to you to read in a month? Yeah? Okay. And does this seem interesting enough to be the first book in your new resolution saga? Yeah, okay. This is a great start because, like I said, if you like it, it opens up a whole world of not only Sarah J. Maas books, but books in this genre. And if you hate it, then we know what kind of books to keep away from in the future, okay? Do you want to borrow this copy? I lend out my books all the time, so yeah, okay. I'm going to set it over on the table for you, and I'll remind you to grab it before you go, okay? No, I actually am. I'm excited to hear what you think about it. Either way, we can definitely talk about it too, so that'll be fun. I think that'll be a really good first book for you. Okay, so let me just see here. I am going to start your log for you because we're going to log your reading. And we have a court of thorns and roses. And the start date, we'll put 1/1/2023. Can't believe we're already in 23. That's crazy. Okay, so this should be completed by the end of January. Now, if it helps at all, we can divide up the pages by the number of days in the month to tell you what you really need to read per day. Okay, yeah. Let me double check again what it was. All right. We had 419. Calculator. You can see I never use the calculator. Where are you? App library. Calculator. There is no calculator app. Okay, we'll just go to Google. All right. We said 419. 419 divided by 31. So you have to read about 13 and a half pages per day. Make it 14. So that's another way. If you find that you're having a hard time meeting your time goal or reading before bed, you can just pick a time and read 15 pages, or 13.5, I think I said. 13.5 pages. 14 pages. And you can read that throughout the day. Probably not my favorite approach, because then it's going to be kind of hard to really get into it if you're only reading a couple pages at a time, but whatever works for you in these initial stages. So we have Court of Thorns and Roses going home with you, and in a future session, maybe next week, we can talk about your exercise goals and do some goal setting for that, so you can start that next week after our session. Okay? Yeah, since we're almost out of time here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is email you my notes for today, as well as the goals worksheet that we've started for reading more, specifically reading 12 books the year 2023, one book in the month of January. Okay. All right, so I'll send that to you, and I would like you for this week to read at least the first 100 pages, okay? And try to start that habit of reading every night before bed. If you miss a night or two here or there, that's fine. Maybe start with at least 4 nights this week. Okay, do you think you can commit to that? Okay, so your goal this week, 100 pages or 4 nights of reading. I should say and or. Definitely the 100 pages. If you can do the 4 nights of reading, that's fine. That's great. If you can't, that's okay. We'll work up to it. But try to get through those 100 pages so we stay on track for finishing by the end of January. Okay? All right. So I have sent those to your email. You should be receiving them shortly. And I cannot wait to see you again. So next week we'll start by talking a bit about your progress, and then we can maybe do the goal setting for your exercise and talk about any other things that we can work on to improve your quality of life. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. Don't forget your book, okay? So here you go. And I'll see you next week.